Hey there, everyone, and thank you for joining us on BACKTALK, the talk show for Black parents. And today we have Stephanie Humphrey. She is a tech life specialist, and she's going to teach us everything we know to be on top of our teens, because you know they're smarter than us. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Now, I read a statistic that said that African American teens are online more than white teens. According to the study from Pew Research Center, they said 34% of African American teens report going online almost constantly, as do 32% of Hispanic teens, and only 19% of white teens report being online that often. So this is a big deal for our children. One of the things that I always say to students, to my kids, is that if you say it, it doesn't stay around forever. But if you put it online,
that's right,
it might. So, and I just want to kind of make that point, because you have a seminar for students that helps them understand the consequences of their behavior, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that first?
Absolutely. It's called Till Death Do You Tweet, and it focuses on just what you said. The stuff that you post stays there forever. There's always a way to recover information. There's always a way to find something from years ago. So we frame it in the context of a student's personal brand first. And then we talk about what could happen to that brand if you're not managing it responsibly through social media, texting, sexting, and those types of things. And then we give them tips on how to do that, what their profile should look like, what their picture should look like, what they should be posting to try to maintain a positive personal brand online. So it runs that whole gamut. And then there's a companion seminar for parents that also helps them understand where their kids are online, the networks, the apps, the different things that they're using right now, technically, but then it also helps them understand those same types of consequences. Parents understand those things any more than kids do, mostly because to their personal brands as well. And then it gives the parents resources that they can use to start that conversation and keep that conversation going with their kids about how they can manage and be a more responsible digital citizen, really.
No, that's amazing. It's very much needed. Kids don't realize today that it's so important to protect your brand when you're going to apply for colleges, when you're applying for a job. They check all of these things now. It's nothing private, emails aren't private anymore. Nothing's private. So let's go back a bit and tell me a little bit about how you got into this. How did you do this?
So, are we good? I saw a notification.
Yeah, I'm just looking and trying to see. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just looking, checking now. I'm just letting them know. Everything else seems to be working on this end. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's their end, but let's just keep going. Hopefully we can figure it out, because our end shows everything is good. I can hear you. You can hear me. So yeah, let's just keep going, and hopefully everything is good.
Okay. Yeah. So I was an engineer for a number of years. That's what my background in education and training is in. I got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in engineering, and got out of that business altogether to get into the entertainment industry. So did a few different things around that. But then in 2011, sort of brought the two things together and started building my brand as a tech life expert. And basically all I do is help people understand how technology makes their lives easier. And about 5 years ago, I sort of put this whole thing together. I think I was calling it "What Happens on the Internet Stays on the Internet" at the time, but it was something that I could do for my friends that were principals or school administrators or teachers. When they asked me to come in and speak to their students, I thought that this content was a little more relevant and important than just kind of your typical career day talk or talk about what you do when for a living and what you wanted to be when you grew up and all. And those things are important, but I really felt like I wanted to be able to have something that I could provide that was relevant to what the kids were going through at the time. So about 2 years ago, I sort of rebranded it and got a little more serious about marketing it and providing this information, because I was getting such great feedback from teachers and administrators that, oh my God, our kids need this so much. And so I really put some effort into getting it out there, and it's been working out great so far.
Well, that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm so glad for you, and you've had such great success, and you're doing so well. Let's touch a little bit on the cyberbullying, because that's a big deal. My own daughter went through that, where it went from cyberbullying to for someone she didn't even know, to someone who actually found where she lived at the time, because she was an adult. And
wow.
We had to go through everything from getting attorney general involved, everything. So, but now in schools, it's different, because you have this cyberbullying is happening 24 hours a day, where when I used to go to school, I got bullied maybe if I showed up for school for that time period. But then now it follows kids home, and it's like
Exactly. And that's what I help students understand. It's one thing to, pick on somebody in the lunchroom, and then that's kind of the end of it. But when it's 24 hours a day, and when it can potentially be thousands of people. That's the thing that kids don't understand. Sure, you may make a comment or upload a fight video to a platform thinking that only the 10 people that, you're friends with are going to see it, but millions of people can potentially see this and pile on to that student. And nobody's equipped to deal with that sort of feedback and criticism and those sorts of comments. So it's just a matter of helping them be aware of where it could go, because I don't think students understand where it could go once it lives online. It's not just about you and that one person that you have a beef with. You're involving now the entire internet potentially.
Absolutely. And it's such a sensitive age with teens to be bullied in the first place, but then to do it constantly and in large groups. That really hurts as a parent, because you can only do but so much. So let's talk about getting into like sexting. I know it's like sensitive topic, but this is something that it just blows my mind. Like, I would not expect my good little girls at the time to be involved with this. And I think that's a lot of parents' mindset. They're like, oh, not my child. Right. So tell me what your experience has been with sexting and teens.
Yeah, they're doing it. So if they're not doing it themselves and sending pictures themselves, they may have had pictures sent to them, or they know someone who, sent some pictures to somebody. Or I spoke at a high school last year, and they brought me in specifically because they had an incident in their cafeteria where all of the students had their AirDrop enabled on their iPhones. And for anybody watching that doesn't know what AirDrop is, it's a way to transfer pictures or contacts or content wirelessly between iPhones. And if you have your AirDrop on, any other phone within the range of that AirDrop that has their phone turned on will also get that content. So somebody sent a nude to someone else, but, hundreds of other students in that cafeteria had their AirDrop turned on. So they all got the picture. And, what I think students don't understand is, number one, you can still go to jail for that. Like, there are 37 states that don't have specific laws for minors as it relates to sexting. So if you get caught for this, if you're sending something to somebody and that person's parent decides they want to take it further and press charges, there are 37 states where you can still go to jail. You can still have to add your name to the sex offender registry list. There's a young boy, I believe his name is LeVar Allen, in Louisiana, who is dealing with this right now because he sent some pictures to a girl. Her dad didn't appreciate it, and he took it further, than I think anybody would expected it to go for just two kids that were, experimenting. And so I try to help young people understand that this is not a game. There are real legal consequences to sexting if you get caught. Usually it will be, kids are going to be kids, and it could get thrown out. And there are 13 states that have addressed that issue, but it's still a misdemeanor even in those 13 states. So you're still dealing with court time, and the parents have to take off work to go down to, the magistrate and figure it all out. And maybe you're getting suspended for a couple of days because of this. So there's still a lot involved, even in those states that aren't going to treat it as a felony. There's still a lot involved, but, worst case scenario, your life is ruined, because once you're on that, sex offender registry, you're on that list forever, and it follows you around, and it affects your ability to where you can live, what you can do for a living. And so the seriousness of it, I don't think gets explained enough to children and to parents. And that's what I try to do with my seminar.
That's absolutely why your work is so important, because they definitely don't think about it at all.
At all. And some of the questions that I get when I get to that part of the seminar, some of the questions, they give me these hypothetical scenarios. Well, what if someone sent but you didn't ask for it? And, they start trying to do all these gymnastics, these logistical gymnastics to try to absolve themselves of culpability for it. And at the bottom line of all of it is, if it's on your phone, it's your responsibility. So either delete it immediately if you don't want to be, held liable, tell a parent, tell a teacher, tell somebody, because if it's on your phone, it's your responsibility.
So what I hear is that parents need to have another type of talk with their children, because this is new world stuff. This is not like stuff we had to even think about. Like, okay, so my child now can go to jail for being curious because of technology being enabled. That's really just mind blowing for a parent. So parents, if you're listening out there, you need to have a different type of talk right now. I know I've seen my students as a teacher in high school. I've seen students, not necessarily with sexting, but whenever there's a fight, the first thing that happens is they all pull out their cell phones and they all record it. And I know in school, if they get caught posting the fight, they could get suspended. So that's another talk with your kids. It's like a circus.
We talk about that in the seminar as well, because I show a lot of different news clips of things like that happen. And just recently, a 10-year-old killed herself. I can't recall the young lady's name, and it was because she got in a fight and somebody posted that fight to the Musical.ly app. And again, you don't think about the fact that there are tens of thousands of people watching this, and that humiliation and that embarrassment that a 10-year-old now has to deal with. So, I kind of put it back on the students, because it is your responsibility. It's like, are you sure that you're going to be okay with the idea that you may have had a hand in somebody's suicide? Because that's where we're at right now. You don't think that posting that video is a big deal. You only think your friends are going to see it and look, she got beat up, whatever. But you got to give yourself those couple seconds before you post that photo or that video and say, maybe this person isn't equipped to handle what could happen because of me posting this video. Maybe, on any other given day, they would be okay with it. But this day, they just had so much going on and all of the pressures and everything else. Like, this could be that one thing that sends that person over the edge. And you have to decide if you're willing to live with that in your spirit, with the idea that you may have had a hand in somebody killing themselves, because that's where we're at, because that's what kids are doing. When people post these fight videos, you're humiliating these kids to a level where they don't feel like they can go on anymore. So, I don't over exaggerate when I say that needs to be the conversation that parents have with their young people. Like, are you okay with that? Think about what could happen if this person killed themselves because you posted this video, honestly. And we're at a point in time and society where that's the trade-off, and that's the decision that needs to be made before those things go up online. So it's serious business out here. It's serious business. Parents have a lot of work. They got a lot of work ahead of them as it relates to their young people and their smartphones. But this is where we are.
Absolutely. And I imagine as things keep changing, we're going to have to keep up and find out what's next. So what is it? I mean, it got to be something out there in addition to these things that is next. Like, what don't we know about? Like, is there something parents should be on the lookout for next? Like, what are we missing? What don't we know?
Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of parents don't know a lot. And that's going to need to shift as well. It's like, I get it. Trust me, I do this for a living, and there's always something new that I'm trying to keep up with. Like, oh my God, they're doing this now. I'm just as shocked as everybody else at where technology is going and how far it's going. But we are all really going to, as adults in general, we are all going to have to do our part to become more informed. If you're not on Instagram and you're not following your child, you need to get an Instagram account and follow your child. If you're not on Facebook, or if you just think, oh my God, this social media, I just can't. You gotta do it. I mean, it is just one more thing that goes into raising a kid these days. You know what I mean? You have to be aware of what they're doing, and be managing that as well. They don't need to be on their smartphone 24 hours a day. They really don't. At 9 o'clock, those phones should be off, and they shouldn't be in the bedrooms with them. And there should be some sort of understanding between you and your child about how, what type of digital usage is allowed and is not allowed. So, it's really on all of us to, show them some options to always being connected, because there's a whole big world out here still, even though it doesn't seem like it. So we have to do that work of making sure that we're informed and we're up to date with, the latest and greatest. And we have to help them understand that that's not a world they need to live in 24 hours a day.
Absolutely. I know in the past they used to say, don't leave computers in the room or have them in your child's room. But now you have smartphones, you have iPads, you have watches, you have everything that keeps them connected to technology. So not having those things in the room at night probably is a really good idea. Are there any other parental controls that parents should be doing automatically? Like what's like the go-to thing that we need to do?
Definitely whatever is on the phone itself. Like most smartphones have some sort of parental control that you can enable at a minimum, just so that they can't spend money in the App Store or the Google Play Store. You should have some sort of lock on that and what they can download and what they can buy with in-app purchases. Just, prevent them from spending all your money up, number one. But then, if there are different websites or different types of content, like I know on iPhones, you can block explicit content in the movies and the music and the apps that they engage with on the phone. So you can do at a bare minimum, most phones have some sort of parental control built into the software of the phone. So you can enable that. If you need to go a little bit further than that, Net Nanny is a really great resource. It's software that you can download to the phones, to all the phones, so that you are aware of what your kid is doing on their phone, literally 24 hours a day. So if it comes to that, and if you think you have a kid that you need to really be keeping track of, there is software out there that can do that.
Oh, I like that Net Nanny. That sounds pretty interesting. I'm going to actually look into that and see what that's all about. Now, just to touch on a little bit, everyone's wondering how the net neutrality lift will hurt or help parents or children, or where is it going? And it's such a mystery right now. Like how, we know we're going to probably end up paying more for the internet. We know that it's probably going to be, a la carte section out. But how do you think this might affect kids, or how it will affect the parents? What do we need to look out for ours, what you know so far?
I think that idea of tiered service is what we're probably going to see sooner rather than later. So I think it may actually benefit kids in a sense, to where they may not all be on social media 24 hours a day, because I think a lot of parents are probably not going to pay for whatever that, because there will most likely be a social media tier that is an add-on to the basic internet service, just like you have basic cable and then you pay for HBO and all that. Social media will most likely be a premium tier that gets added on to your basic internet service. So there are probably going to be a lot of parents that just can't afford to pay for that, or just aren't going to do it, because it's like, I'm not paying extra money just so my kid can be on Instagram. So it may end up sort of reversing a lot of what we've seen, because right now the genie is just completely out of the bottle. And, this may end up reversing a little bit of that, because there will probably be more kids that won't be able to access social networks because of net neutrality.
I can see that. I definitely can see that happening. So tell us where we can find you online. What's your website?
You can check me out at tillbethdouyoutweet.com. I'm taking signups now for the online course for parents that's launching this month. And for anybody who's watching, the first 10 folks that register will get a discount.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And you're also on Twitter. That's where I found you.
Yeah, I'm at Tech Life Steph all across the web: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tech Life Steph. And on Instagram, I do a 60-second tech break every Wednesday at 3 p.m. So a little nugget that you can use and incorporate into your life every week.
Well, Stephanie, thank you for coming on Back Talk, the talk show for Black parents. If you're watching, be sure to follow us on social media. We're also at Black Parenting One all across the web. We were the first Black parenting magazine in the nation, so you can find us at Black Parenting One on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Until next time, we'll see you soon. All right. Thank you, guys.